Terry Ware. Aisle 5. All right, everybody, we're going to get rolling here. Hopefully, if anybody comes in after this. Thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. We're New Inglewood LLC. Most of you know us by now. See a lot of familiar faces out there, but Again, thanks for coming. I'm Justin Lujan with DBC Companies. This is Dustin Jones with Ogilvy Partners, and our other two partners sitting in the front row here, Chris King and Stu Ogilvy. They have said they'll stay till midnight for questions after, so we're going to get out of here, but they'll be here to do whatever you guys need. We're going to give you a presentation of what we've been working on for the last 2 years, but I think probably 6 months since since January, since we've seen you all. But Terry Ware with the city's going to kick it off and kind of frame where the city's at, or give you, actually I'll just hand it over to him. I don't want to speak.
As Justin said, my name is Terry Ware. I'm the redevelopment manager for the city of Inglewood. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to come and listen to the presentation that New Inglewood's going to present. I just want to make a couple of quick comments. We're working in partnership, and by that I mean that we are working towards the goals that the community defines about what this area should look like, how it should redevelop. New Inglewood has, as private developers and private investors, an agenda and a vision that they have. I think our vision for this area overlap in many ways. Some of the discussion points that are going to come up tonight have to do with city facilities. This building, the administration offices within it, the library, the court system, the plaza outside. We own approximately equal shares of the land area around here. The city, the public, you, and New Inglewood as private investors own about an equal share of the property. There are a number of decision points that have to be met and have to be discussed regarding the city facilities. City Hall, the facilities that are within it, the plaza, the retail that's across on the other side of the plaza, that's adjacent to and under the apartments, that's also city property. The light rail station, what happens there. No decision has been reached on those elements. There will be a study session September 28th with City Council, at which point city staff will present our thoughts, our analysis, our recommendations regarding what should happen with the public facilities. It's an undue burden and not the responsibility of the private investors and private developers to resolve those issues. These are issues that need to be resolved by the citizens and by the City Council as it relates to these public facilities. So there'll be some options presented tonight that incorporate city facilities, but I just want to underline the study sessions coming up with City Council, at which point there'll be more discussion probably and hopefully some decisions about the future of city facilities. So I just wanted to preface their presentation with those comments, and afterwards I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have regarding those specific elements. So I'm going to turn it back over to you guys.
Excellent. Thanks, Terry. All right. So as Justin said, we've been hard at work since January when we had the listening session with the community, taking the input from certainly that event, but also additional community events, and really trying to come up with some options that could fit with what we heard as the primary goals of the citizens and different stakeholders of the city. So tonight we'll do a quick overview again. I apologize if this is repetitive for most of you. We have been asked just to do it each time just because there are new people who have no clue who we are. So talk a little bit about the history and ownership of the site, and then go through a little bit about the community engagement piece. We'll talk about the conclusions we heard out of that listening session and some of those additional meetings. And then we'll talk about the comprehensive plan options. We've created 3 options per the agreements and previous discussions with the city that, to Terry's point, envision different scenarios with certainly city facilities, but also the development as a whole. Talk a little bit about where we're at on the timeline, and then go through the rest of those conceptual plans, and then talk about next steps.
We'll blast through this if you are new. All kidding aside, Dustin and I will be here afterwards, happy to answer questions. But the New Inglewood partnership is a partnership with DBC and Ogilvy. We combined have about 60 years of experience in Colorado, the Front Range primarily. Stu and Chris have known each other for 30 plus years. Dustin and I have known each other for a long time, so it's a very good partnership. We are both based in Denver. We're right in the tech center, and Ogilvy's at Colorado 925. We're not from New York, which came up a few times. We're locals. 3 out of the 4 of us are Denver natives. Inglewood is near and dear to our hearts. We drive by this project all the time, so we are very invested in the community, and like I said, we see this project all the time. So just real quick, won't spend much time on this, and we can answer questions after if you haven't been here before, but relevant and experience, this is the project across the street that Ogilvy did starting in 2017. It was about $175 million redevelopment of the Sports Authority headquarter campus. They turned it into a very cool mixed-use project that was a combination of multifamily, office, self-storage, retail, pretty much everything you can imagine. But again, if you have questions, let us know. Similarly, DBC did a redevelopment of the Cherry Creek Corporate Center, which is in the heart of Glendale at Colorado Boulevard and Cherry Creek Drive. This was about a 20-acre office campus that we added multifamily, some retail, built a parking structure to offset some of the surface parking, and we've done a bunch of projects, but included this because there's some similar parallels that you'll see with CityCenter on how do we activate and open up areas, create additional parking, but not take up as much space. So that was the Cherry Creek redevelopment. Just super quick here, if anybody doesn't know, you're sitting on the former Cinderella City Mall site. This was at one point the largest mall west of the Mississippi. We've done a lot of homework on history here, and this was the mall for about 10 years, and then it started undergoing some construction defect issues and then kind of bounced back. But you've seen the history here is kind of up and down, and unfortunately, probably in the mid-'70s, the mall started experiencing a lot of vacancy and then more deferred maintenance, and by the '80s, it was pretty much defunct, and this building we're sitting in was one of the only occupied buildings and one of the only buildings that remained. The city bought the entire site, and in the late '90s, they did a joint venture. The city owned the ground, did a joint venture with a company called Miller Weingarten, which no longer exists. Did the redevelopment of CityCenter today. At the time, it was a cutting edge project, but unfortunately, within about a decade, this project also started to suffer, and you saw more vacancy, tenants rolling out. The site plan probably wasn't what should have been put here, and eventually the site just went into deferred maintenance and a lot of vacancy again. So in the mid 2010, 15, the site was foreclosed on. Up until our ownership which was the end of 2024, the property was bank owned, and that's never a good thing. If you guys paid attention, you saw tenants move out over that series of 6-8 years. Most of the property went vacant, and then we purchased it, and we're trying to obviously figure out how to revitalize and get it back on its feet. So just a couple steps or what we've been up to. So again, we bought this end of 2024. Part of our call it ground lease termination agreement, but just our partnership with the city was doing listening sessions. You guys have seen a lot of us. Hopefully you're sick of us by now, and we can all agree on a site plan and start moving forward. But in January, we did a listening session. Dustin and I, from January on throughout the summer, have been to city functions of the park. We've met with the Chamber of Commerce. We've met with the DDA and numerous other stakeholders, just trying to hear the community. Most importantly, we don't want to be looked at as a developer that's just trying to cram a plan down anybody's throat. And Terry's a little bit of a new addition, but we see Terry weekly, if not numerous times a week, along with Brad and formerly Sean, the city manager and council. So we spent a ton of time with city officials. And in February, we executed the first part of the ground lease termination, and that was, call it a trade, probably not the best word, but in order to terminate the ground lease, we deeded over the former 24-hour fitness building to the city, so you as citizens own that building today. And then the retail space that's right off the plaza that sits below the apartment units. So the city also owns those properties, and we're excited to get those revitalized and going. Go for it.
Just to refresh everyone's mind about the area that we're talking about and the division of the ownership, everything in blue is currently owned by New Englewood. Everything in green is owned by the city, or yep, that's 100%. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, Inc is the divider between the two. The B3 parcel that's shown on here is really envisioned, or the city has a purchase option on, and that's the Tokyo Joe's. So after the listening session and some of these public engagements, we went back and took all the notes that had been submitted, both in those engagements as well as online and other things, and really came up with a summary of the top 5 things that were themes, recurring themes among the community. Walkability, pedestrian friendly was top of the list. Green spaces, parks, and environmental features. Local business and small scale retail. This was one of the themes that came out of it. I think one of the things that we've kept in mind on this particular point is, while that certainly will be considered in how we do this, we also don't want to cannibalize other areas of Inglewood that are already in place along Broadway. So that needs to factor into our what's going to work, but also what's not going to cannibalize other businesses. 4th was mixed use development, just a mix of uses. And then 5th was some sort of arts and entertainment, cultural type venues within the redevelopment. The other thing we did is we took a look at 2 different guiding documents, if you will. City Council created a comprehensive plan. I think it was last updated in 2017. And then we also looked at the EDDA downtown plan as a guide for just different additional public processes that have been used to establish the goals of the city. And so really the 4 points that we're trying to accomplish with this redevelopment would be economic development and jobs, which is kind of a given with any redevelopment here. Housing and residential growth were certainly a component of it, with certainly more density envisioned as you get towards light rail. Enhanced connectivity in public spaces, things like connecting Inglewood Parkway to the 3 districts, the Broadway district, the hospital district, and then CityCenter. And then cultural retail and activation. So again, I know one of the themes we've heard is security, security, security here. We have issues, and one of the best ways to at least start addressing that is to activate it. There's just not a lot of people, there's a lot of vacant spaces. So that has been front and center of our mind as well as we've gone through this process. So if you're summarizing kind of the 3 things that we really want to achieve here, one is to, again, create that activation that we just talked about. 2 is to really focus on a live, work, play environment, somewhere where, and this leads to the activation, where not only do we have residents, but we have retail, we have cultural facilities where Inglewood residents, regional residents want to come here and have a bite to eat, go to some sort of activity in public space. And then ultimately work here, as you'll see in some of these plans. And then last but not least, I think, Justin talked about this, but the last group developed something that candidly just wasn't successful, and there were a lot of misses along the way. That's what we want to avoid. And so I think not just thinking, can we fill it once, can we get someone in here, but what's going to survive the test of time and be here in 30 years so we're not tearing it down again. So a little bit about the timeline. So really July through September is community engagement, and we want to do more of these meetings. If you guys have groups that you want us to come talk to, we're happy to do that. Really leading up to a city council work session on the 28th of September. As Terry mentioned, they're going to be fleshing out a lot of the city related discussions that need to occur as a part of this plan at that meeting, but we're also going to be presenting this and having that discussion as well. And then really the rest of the year, assuming that we come out of that with at least if not action, but timeline of what we'd like to see is start getting toward one plan. There have been multiple plans talked about on the site for a decade plus, even well before our involvement. And so I think the goal is really to start locking in on one plan that the community can support and get behind. Because at that point, there's a lot of work and a lot of money to be spent on vetting that plan. Things like parking studies, parking analysis, utility analysis, and on top of that, getting agreements modified to allow for some of this work to occur. So Walmart declarations, RTD agreements, those kind of things. So we really envision the rest of this year hopefully working toward a particular plan and getting it teed up so that by the first quarter of next year, we can start talking to groups about phase one, which we envision is C2, and we can talk about that later. C2 being the two-story building that you see with Qdoba right now. That's likely would be the first phase, and we'd like to start those discussions in first quarter of next year. Assuming that timeline holds, it'd be great to get shovels in the ground sometime in probably 2028 with some delivery in 2030. All right, I'll turn it over to Justin. Oh, almost. So we did 3 different plans, and just as kind of a guide for those plans, you're going to see a range of things like residential density. One plan envisions 300 units and leaving a lot of things in place as is. Kind of the opposite end of that spectrum is really going toward over 1,000 residential units potentially. Retail space, we've tried to really target replacing what's here today, and so trying not to lose a retail base is front and center in our minds. So plans kind of vary from 50 to 70,000 square feet of retail. You'll see 2 different hotel concepts in there. One is a surface park, think Comfort Inn concept. Another could be a higher end, more dense, 184 rooms that could be mid-level Hyatt or something along those lines. Certainly community space is front and center of all of these plans actually, but envisioning arts, music, education, about 50,000 square feet. We won't talk about the City Hall question, but there's a couple of options in there. And then income restricted units in one of the plans up to 100 units, envisioning it as kind of a standalone project. And then last but not least, we are trying to maintain the existing, or what was the Colorado Retina building. The idea being that medical office use here feels like it would also participate towards activating this area and providing that daytime traffic in addition to if City Hall were here as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Justin to go through the plans.
Go for it. Yeah, but so the why do we have 3 plans? Each plan is based on different economics, and obviously none of this is cheap. Construction costs today are astronomical. Building anything, whether it's retail, housing, all costs have gone through the roof. So these plans, you'll see, starting with one here, this is what I would call the most basic plan. This is the plan that would not need any kind of public-private partnership, TIF, PIF, Metro District. Those are all financing mechanisms that allow the city and developers to be able to build bigger projects. Parking structures, for example, is one of the most expensive types of structure you can build today with steel, concrete going through the roof. Like Dustin mentioned, our next step would be to get a parking consultant engaged and really dig in, but we know we have to provide adequate parking not only for what would be built, but for people coming in to make sure that hopefully the site's self-contained for the most part. So this plan is, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but kind of the honor plan. C2, and I wish we had a pointer, but C2 is the blue structure that's on the north end of the project, and that's a 300-unit apartment complex. Like Dustin mentioned, that's currently the 2-story retail/office building with IHOP and Qdoba as the only tenants left, so that would be demolished. We'd keep the northwest end of that building, and that would be the medical office facility. something to keep in mind when you move south, the south parcel we call C1, where Harbor Freight and the former Office Depot is. The one component that nobody controls within the site is Harbor Freight. They have lease term to 2040, and if they want to stay there, obviously they've got contractual rights to stay there. So as you see the different variations of plans, keep that in mind. We've reached out to them, we've spoken to them. Terry is doing an outreach, but obviously they're a great tenant. We value their business and tax revenue, but we're trying to find, is there an alternative location within the city, and probably particularly on Hamden, that we could move them to do the bigger redevelopment site. So in this version, you're going to see Harbor stays, the Office Depot would stay, and we would redevelop that into anything from multi-tenant retail to a single small box. If you move west of that, everybody knows Chuck E. Cheese. We also do not control Chuck E. Cheese. That's totally separate ownership. North of that would be the hotel site, and this plan would envision a surface park site where the existing parking structure gets demolished, and it would just be surface parking. The current building that we're standing in stays, which is right in the heart of the project, and then adjacent to that is 24-hour fitness, which again the city owns. City can program that with numerous different types of arts, music, courts. I'll let Terry handle what he envisions going there. But really, this plan doesn't change too much, again, because the economics of where we are today, unfortunately, you can only afford to do so much. So this one would not, that's okay. This table, obviously, most people can't see that, but this is just the table that shows units, parking, and again, this is a broad stroke, kind of a 30,000-foot look. We will get into much more detail, and we know that parking is a focus here, so we need to get into that much deeper. Terry?
Is this information available on your website?
Yes, and sorry, thank you for saying that. This whole thing has been put, you'll see our website at the end. This slideshow is on there, and then we'll start making that way more interactive to where you'll be able to email us questions. Obviously, you know where to find he and I. You can call us at any time, and like Dustin said, we're happy to meet with you. But yes, the website will have all this information, and we'll continue to build that and add additional information as we get going. You want to do this one, or keep going? So this would be kind of the opposite of the first plan. This is plan 2, where it is a full-on redevelopment, and you have a demolition of most of the buildings out there. So kind of starting in the center, this would be demolition of the existing building that we're in, and the city would relocate their facilities to the former 24-hour fitness, which you all own now. Similar to the previous plan, 300 units on the C2 parcel with the medical office building. There would be multifamily on C1, which is again up on Hamden. Something Dustin mentioned was replacing the retail we have. Super important component of replacing the retail today is get it up on Hamden. Can't hear it? Okay, that's better. The retail needs to be on Hamden. That is one of the biggest issues of how the site plan is ineffective today. C1 would be first floor retail. You'd have structured parking and then multifamily units above that. But we have talked to specialty small format grocers. There's a lot of interest in kind of a 20,000 square foot footprint. So imagine the size of the Office Depot that's sitting there today empty. That would be a grocer, but part of a much bigger project. And then you'll see some renderings that show anything from sit-down restaurant to quick serve type restaurant, but we really see that as vibrant, really activate Hamden and try to create a place that people want to come shop and eat and dine. Moving west of that, where Tokyo Joe's is, that would be additional multifamily, and that would be higher density, probably further down the road. Again, keep in mind the city has a purchase option on that building, so whether it's us or the city or a combination of both, the city has the right to purchase that in the next couple of years. And then hotel site on this would be a much larger scaled up, anywhere from 150 to 180 room hotel that would sit on a podium parking structure. You'd have great views of the mountains. Picture sitting kind of at eye level on the first floor with the light rail station, but then the hotel would go up from that. The green space in the middle has been totally rethought. I won't go too deep into that right now because we have some cool renderings, but the whole thought on the green space is how do we completely change what's out there today and make it very interactive, get people to want to be out there and be on foot. We want to make this very pedestrian oriented. Inglewood Parkway is a big piece of that. We know the city's putting a lot of money into BERT, and we've catered these plans to really use that shuttle service, but we also want people on foot. So come to whether you're riding your bike, walking here, or driving here, parking in a structure, you park your car, you get out, you walk around, and the idea would be that the roads in the middle of the site on nights and weekends would probably be shut down to pedestrian-only traffic. During the days, we really want to try to shut down that traffic, especially on Inca today, where people are flying through there, and make it much more pedestrian-oriented in the green space. We've got splash pads, kids parks. We want it to be a place where kids and families can be out there and not be afraid of getting hit by a car. So, and then probably the most important component on the far northwest corner, that is a music arts facility. The renderings will show a lot better view of that, but this would be an outdoor amphitheater that would also house somewhere around 20,000 to 30,000 square feet of space for most likely nonprofit, music arts. The DDA has several nonprofit artists in the condo space right now, but any kind of combination of that. But the theater component would really revitalize and open up the green space to make it much more vibrant and hopefully more of a 24/7 type entertainment venue. Oh yeah, hit that. Go for it.
So the one thing I'll point out, you'll see library noted on the ground floor retail right now. This is just an idea. There's been concerns about whether there's deep enough space there to actually make that work. One thing we did hear from the community in all of our conversations is that the library needs to be a part of this conversation, and that's well recognized and known. So a lot more analysis needs to go into where and how it could fit, but we know it's certainly a critical component. Is that it? So on Plan 3, think of this as kind of a hybrid. So the idea is how can we still take, if the city decides, you know what, we need to keep this building and either stay here or something else goes here at 24-hour, how can we still make it a plan that's functional and accomplishes some of the goals that we've been told. So this plan keeps those two buildings in place. C2 stays the same. C1 is, in this version, is kind of a toned down version, and what we're trying to think through here is there something we can do if Harbor Freight is there for the next 14 years? Is there something we can still do to activate that site with a partial redevelopment or phased redevelopment? Probably a somewhat scaled down multifamily to the west on Tokyo Joe's, slightly scaled down hotel because we're dealing with less space, but still trying to activate that green space with, again, just a toned down concert venue. All right, so we'll flip through some renderings here and kind of jump in, but this is looking down Inglewood Parkway to the west, standing at really the start of that redevelopment. So everything on the north side is existing. You'll notice here we're trying to really enhance the greenery, the walkability of this corridor. This particular image envisions potentially even making that one-way, encouraging BERT shuttle traffic, still some vehicular traffic, but again, trying to encourage more pedestrian or comfort, I guess, for pedestrians. This is a view also looking west, but on the south side of the redevelopment. This is looking at C1, and then in the distance, C1 and in the distance would be Tokyo Joe's, just a potential streetscape looking across Hamden. And then we start looking at what the re-envisioning of this park space can look like. And I think, as Justin mentioned, the idea here is to make this as active and purposeful as possible. You'll see a few of these images with playgrounds, splash pads, certainly the concert outdoor space. The idea of that concert outdoor space is that it can be multi-use, so you have food trucks, community events, that sort of thing, in addition to concert venues. In the background, we are looking at, yeah, that could be the library. Yeah, that condo space. Sorry, had to orient myself. Another view of the park, again, looking at that, you can kind of see the splash waterway through there, as well as the playground just off the left side. I'm sorry? We do need water. The lower right side is kind of the edge of the green space that we're talking about envisioning for spillover for that concert venue.
That's the existing CityCenter.
Oh, yes, thank you. In the background, this entails or envisions the existing building that we're sitting in staying put, and what this could still look like in the green area. Our main goal with that green space is, again, I know I'm overusing activation, but take what is largely an open green lawn right now and give purpose for everyone to be there that's in there. This is a direct look at what we could envision as potentially a concert venue, the stage area. So that building you see is what was labeled as the music and arts venue in the second plan option, with again a stage at the base of it. This is looking west. You have more chairs, lawn chairs, something like a toned down Hudson Gardens, something like that, if you guys have been there, in that first area. And then really at the base of the picture, it would spill out into that open multi-use screen. Oh, yes, thank you. And the housing you see on top is envisioned as a affordable housing project in this rendering. This is looking at the light rail bridge. We envision the light rail bridge staying put, but again, with the idea that we're trying to make sure people who are coming here have a reason to be there, and so it doesn't just spill out onto the lawn from everyone getting off light rail. So this particular rendering starts to see that, and I think this next image, yeah, so that ramp that you see would come off of the existing light rail bridge and then actually turn back west to get folks down to the sidewalk. So to enter the plaza, you would go through the space where currently is that vacant retail space, or the arts facilities are right now. In order to get to that green space, you'd walk through there to get to the open area. So next steps, I think, again, like we talked about, this is all leading up to a city council meeting on the 28th, and then any other meetings after that. Really the goal is to come out of this with as much community input that we can get, and really give everyone enough data, I would say, to move forward on a particular plan. And it may be a combination of a couple of these plans. We may hear, we like this, we don't like this, but really we'd like to get the feedback from you guys. So we've handed everyone note cards. We encourage you to fill those out. We'll collect them. Promise we'll get them into spreadsheets and incorporate those into our planning process. Again, if you have other community events that you want us to come speak to, whether it's be your neighborhood HOA or something else, let us know. And then we're going to hang around to certainly answer questions if you guys have any along the way. Oh, one. Sorry, go ahead.
Just one quick advertisement. On the city's website, there's also a survey that asks you about your feelings about the city facilities, city hall, etc. Where you came in and there were note cards. There's a small placard there with a QR code. You can scan that QR code if that's easier and go on to the site. Fill out the survey. Up to this point, we've had almost 600 responses from the community, providing input into city facilities and what you ought to think, what it might happen next. So I would encourage you, ask you to really, provide your input. Thank you.
And same with the website. You can visit the website and do the same thing online. Send us, comments and questions and everything else. Right. Yes, sir.
So
So there's multiple sources. The answer is we don't know yet because the analysis hasn't been done. Step one is to figure out which plan we'd like to pursue, and step two is really to figure out what the potential funding sources are for those. So it can be a multitude of things given the downtown development authority that exists.
You've been on this for like 6 years now, and you still don't know anything?
So we've worked on it for 2 years, and we've been designing it for 6 months. But yeah, you want to say something?
Sure,
Go ahead.
I'll answer that question since it's a city parking garage. As you may be aware, City Council a few months ago allocated approximately $700,000 to do remediation on the parking garage. If you were out there this evening, you see it's shored up. It's in deteriorating shape. It needs to be closed. It needs to be demolished. The cost of demolition is about $1.5 million, our projections. The cost of rebuilding it is somewhere north of $2 million. And so part of the discussion with City Council on the 28th will be to present various options for parking on the site, use of that parking garage, and an in-depth discussion about who's going to pay for it. But today, it's a safety hazard.
I've seen the structure right outside the library door that has been there for months.
Right.
And cement cures in like 3 days. So why is that still there? Is that kind of like a symbol that this is going to fall down on your head if you don't get rid of it?
It's not a symbol. It's a reality. And concrete curing in a few days has nothing to do with the overall structural integrity of the existing structure right now. The concrete spalding, as a result of water penetration into it, you're getting deterioration of the rebar that's in it. It's in severe shape. And so the option is to rebuild it, or demolish it.
Rebuilding the city center, you got 40,000 to 140,000.
Correct.
Can't you narrow it down a little bit?
Sure, I'll let you take that.
That's a wide range there.
Yeah, so that's not a comment on what their program is and what their needs are. All that is saying is that if you were to move City Hall into the 24-hour fitness building, that's about 40,000 square feet. Okay, so and then option B would be if you stay here, it's about 140,000 square feet currently. So it's not at all a position on how much the city needs. It's how much are in these options.
Once again, at the City Council meeting, right now, you have 3 floors that represent approximately 35,000 square feet. So the city administration on the 3rd floor. You have the city administration on the 3rd floor, that's approximately 30,000. The courts and community space on the 2nd floor, and then the library. But if you've been in this building, you know that it's an enormously inefficient building. So approximately 25% of the space you see is hallways, et cetera. Typically in an office building, you want to get down to about 15% efficiency. But in addition to that, the majority of offices, I can count on one hand the number of offices that have windows. I've only been a recent employee here. I know there are employees here who've been here for 20 and 30 years, not necessarily in this building. This is not an efficient office space. The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems in this building are also deteriorating. Remember, this building was built in around the 1970s. So it wasn't designed to be a 100-year building. So at some point, and this is the discussion with City Council, there's a reality that we need to address about both the functional purposes of the building, but also the lifespan of the systems and the structural systems within the building.
What's the actual cost of replacing it?
We don't know because we haven't done a building program. We haven't hired designers to effectively carry this out. Primarily because the city's resources are pretty minimal. I hope I'm not offending anyone by making that comment. And so this is going to be an incremental process, but part of the discussion with City Council on the 28th is to try and present as much information as we've gathered to date, the appraisal, the engineering evaluations, et cetera, so that City Council can have this discussion in front of the community and come to some direction, not decisions, but direction about what additional studies need to be undertaken and what direction we ought to go forward.
Hi. Do you want me at the mic, or is it you can hear me okay?
We can get you at the mic. They want it for a
Mic?
moment.
Okay, great. Hi. I'm Eric Anderson. I live in Cushing Park. So one of the things, you obviously have certain properties, the city has certain properties, but when I look at those maps, I see what anyone who walks through the area sees, which is a bunch of other land that isn't part of your plan. And that includes the Englewood Plaza, which is now fully vacant, I think. And maybe there's going to be something else. The RTD lot, which no one's even talked about, but is this completely empty parking lot that seems like it could be a better use. But also, I don't know what the how the office buildings are doing in terms of vacancy rates, but my guess is that they're not super successful either. They look like they're not seen better days as well. So I think maybe this is part of the question, but partly a statement, which is I think for residents, it's really helpful to hear what you're thinking on the city land and on the private land, but it would be also helpful to know or be able to share information about these other properties and what they're planning. And I recognize that they may not have a commitment or a need to be open about it, but anything we could get from those other things, because I think I sort of see this as one continuous piece of developable land from Chuck E. Cheese to Broadway, right, and everything in between. And so to the extent that this is going to be treated as a master plan, it would be interesting to know what RTD's thinking, what the owners of the high-rises, are they going to keep those up? And again, the Englewood Plaza, which has now been maybe 6 months, been completely empty. And then second of all, to the extent that we talked about sort of this death spiral of empty space, no matter what you all do in the areas that you control, city or your land, that's also becoming just sort of this desolate area that doesn't feel safe or welcoming or anything like that, with empty parking lots and storefronts and just a sense that it's not a place that you'd want to pass through to get anywhere else. So I guess the question is can the city or the developers do any sort of inventory or get whatever information that's possible from these other parties and at least share them so that people can at least know whatever you know or whatever information you can find out on how these other pieces fit in?
I'll touch on a couple things, and I'm sure Terry will jump into some of this. So first of all, I think our redevelopment we see as the catalyst to start redevelopment and higher and better use, certainly in the area. I think it probably, I would kind of refer you back to the comp plan as well as the EDDA downtown plan in terms of the governing documents that have been a public process and have outlined the vision for what they want to see as they move towards light rail. So I think that at least helps guide that document. The other thing I'll mention is, all of us have conversations with some of those owners quite often, like, certain owners in that area. In terms of the Englewood, the Plaza redevelopment, I'm not sure where that sits. We just know that it was, thought of for multifamily at some point, but I'm not sure if there's another update at this point. Is that it? Yeah.
The property where old Hobby Lobby used to be was purchased recently. It's a partnership of Kimco and Trammell Crow, and they are developing plans to move forward with, primarily residential, perhaps some retail, and perhaps some other uses on that site. As you mentioned, went from Broadway to the rail line. It's a checkerboard of property ownerships with different interests, different goals, different objectives. As Dustin said, we have been having conversations with a variety of those actors. Some timelines we're aware of, some, people, it's still somewhat ambiguous. But I think your comment is a good one. We're trying to put together a whole picture of what this area could be and, is today. And so all of those are factors, and as we gain information, we'll certainly make it available to the public. Thank you for your question. Okay, so there are several factors with RTD. When this site was redeveloped back in 2000 or so, and the existing plan that you see, the idea was that transit was going to be the focus of activity, that people were going to live in the area and then work downtown. The way the RTD transit system is set up, it's a hub and spoke system with downtown Denver being the regional employment center, and so that's why you see all the lines, regardless whether they're on north, south, etc., end in downtown. Well, here we are, post-COVID, and the world has changed. Downtown has a vacancy rate somewhere north of 35%. Many people are, working at home primarily, so the nature of our work and our travel structure has changed quite a bit. As many of you have experienced, if you've been in the plaza, RTD is not the focus of activity of this area. But over time, it may play a different role. So there, as you're well aware, the women's football stadium is going to happen a couple of stops north. A couple of stops north of that, the new Broncos stadium. So we can't anticipate or speculate about how that might impact travel along the light rail line, or how it might attract or impact stations along the light rail line or usage of those stations. But certainly, the world is continuing to evolve, and I think Dustin or Justin mentioned it. There's no endpoint to this. We're not going to build this stuff and then go, okay, well, we're done. Cities continue to evolve. Tastes change, uses change, needs change. And so what we're trying to do is put in place a framework of activity and investment that allows that change to occur over time. And there'll be new people sitting here 5 years from now, 10 years from now with different needs, questions, expectations. So, to the degree that we have information available. So, coming back, RTD has an existing agreement with the city regarding the use of the garage. We're negotiating changing that agreement, and they seem amiable to that. The idea would be that they would redevelop their facilities at the north parking lot, which you're right is totally underutilized. So there will be some changes in bus routes. Broader than this, they're talking about doing a bus rapid transit along Federal, which will then come over to the north lot. So there are a lot of elements to it. Eventually, we'd love to see RTD. Several years ago, they were very active in pushing forward on doing mixed-use development around their station areas. Once again, things have changed. $200 million in debt, cutting back 20% on services because of that debt. So RTD is changing their philosophy, their routing, et cetera. And so all of these factors, what the property owner next door does, what RTD does, there are a lot of moving parts. And when I said earlier about partnership, I think we agree and overlap on the goals that serve the community. How we get there and the timing, it's going to be subject to the economy, the market, financial availability, et cetera. So, but throughout this process, we want to keep you engaged and inform you as we go forward.
I think you're correct. In 5 years, we'll still be sitting here talking about this. The issue with RTD is we have lease agreements or some kind of agreement. They own part of this, and they don't seem to want to budge. That's good to hear, because ridership is down. So what does Inglewood do? We build atrocious bus bulbouts on Broadway that are causing flooding and chaos. Noah, you want to talk, you get up and talk, and I'll be quiet while you do it, so just sit there and be quiet. No, I know, but this has a lot to do with that, so shut up and I'll get through it. No, multifamily has come up at a lot of the meetings. I've been to most of them. I don't think, this is my opinion, and I have a right to state it, I don't think we need any more multifamily. I don't know on the Sports Authority side what kind of occupancy rate you have. According to the postal guys that deliver the mail over there, it's not a great occupancy rate. And for the people that do live in that, they had to double the turn lane to turn left to get the hell out of Inglewood for all the people that moved in over there. And the traffic is atrocious trying to get all of those people out of Inglewood and down 285 to leave. So I really want this to be thoughtful, But the PUD went through for the site over at Hobby Lobby. They want to put in like 300 units, 400, I don't remember how many units. That's all going to be residential too. At this point, we've got serious water issues. So how many more people are you going to put into this city and over-densify? They're flushing toilets, washing laundry, running dishwashers, taking showers, and the residents that have been here and beautify this city receive no benefit. All they're doing is choking us out. So I would not like to see any multifamily built here because Hobby Lobby's already planning it. I think our occupancy rates are terrible. If you go to the big apartment areas up at 285 and University, they're dying. They can't keep their occupancy rates up. You can go around and just see how many places are empty up there. I just think we really need to be thoughtful for this. I don't know how we're going to pay for this either, because that apparently doesn't have an answer yet. But I don't know. This just seems so underbaked at this point for City Council to make any decision on a direction. We paid this building off in the last 10 years, so what do? We tear it down. Like everybody has done to everything that the city has ever had in the last 20 years. We tore down all our schools. North, South, East, and West are still doing fine in Denver, and they were twice the age. We had beautiful schools. It seems like the answer to this city is to fail to do the proper maintenance, so our parking structures fail. The only answer is to tear them down and build something new. We did that. We were promised River Point when Cinderella City left. We were promised a Mervyn's and a Target and a movie theater and restaurants and a beautiful development. And what we got is what we have, which has been blight for the majority of that time. And what we do is we turn to things like Harbor Freight. They're actually a business that brings sales tax dollars to the city that helps us run. So the first thing we want to do is kick them out. Kick out the people that are paying the bills and then redevelop what they're in so that nobody moves in and we just have more space to go to blight. I'm sorry, I'm frustrated, but I've watched so many projects in the last 10 years in this city get planned. People are brought forward to give input, it's ignored. The plans go through anyway because some computer program says this or that. And it's frustrating to watch people come and people go. You can see that in our current administration right now leaving. Came, did a bunch of stuff, and they're leaving. Some of us have been here for decades or generations. And we watch people come, do a bunch of crap, and we watch them go, and then we're left with the pieces, the crumbs. So you guys are great. Had a lot of interaction with you. You've done a lot of listening. But I still think there is a long way to go before plans can actually be put into effect.
Sure, appreciate that. And there is a lot of work left. I mean, I think we're under no illusion there. A couple of points that I'll just touch on in regards to retail. I mean, our goal isn't to kick Harbor Freight out. Our goal is to figure out another location within Inglewood to relocate them. And we are trying to retain that retail, overall size so that we're not losing a retail presence through this redevelopment. Anything else?
Yeah. So I think feels like a common theme keeps coming up, and I'm glad you pointed out particularly. We bought this property at the end of 2024. It was bank owned for 6 years. That is an empty chair, zero ownership, no investment into the property. We've worked on these site plans, like Dustin said, for 6 months. I know you guys have seen these for 6, 8 years, and I can understand your frustration. The difference is we own the property. We're not under contract. We're not talking about doing something. We own it today. The four of us right here own the property. That's no joke. 4 of us, we own it. It is extremely important to us to make something happen. Empty property does not generate income. We have our names on loans. If it fails, we fail. So the big difference of where you are at with your 6-year horizon is that we own it today. We are going to make something happen. When a bank owns it and they respond to 40,000 bondholders that is in a multi-billion-dollar bond portfolio, they don't care. this was a rounding error and this was something that was not on their radar. They could care less, and that's why the property sits as it does today. We've been at this for 2 years. We've been planning on it for 6 months. All we need is direction at this point, which we want everybody to put their input in. There is a ton to figure out, and the reason we don't have answers is because we haven't had enough time. We haven't been doing this for 6 years. I want to make sure everybody understands that. But now that we are in the ownership chair, we will push this project forward. We will make things happen. It will be a difference maker. I feel very bad for all of you because you've had to experience this and just see the blight happen. But we're active owners. We're right down the street. I literally drive by this site almost every day and look at it. It's not something I'm proud of today. We will really want to make a difference in this community. So that is the difference of what you've seen, and frankly, for the last 15 years to what you're going to see in the coming years going forward. We just need buy-in from everybody. We need direction from council, from the mayor. Once we get that, we will be off to the races, and we've already spent a ton of money of our own capital, and we're getting ready to invest a ton more. And it's our dollars. It's not some institution out of New York or whatever else. This is our money that we have to make work. Otherwise, we fail miserably. So sorry for the soapbox, but there is a huge difference in where this property is today from where it's been in the past.
I'll just say one more thing, and then so the only other thing I'd say is that we're, it's all these questions we have. We don't know what the questions are, and so we're trying to get direction on just a plan to pursue so we can answer those questions. Does the city build? What happens with this building? Where does it go? A lot of those things need to be answered so that we can answer how are we going to pay for it? What are the options? What does that look like? So I think that's the critical next step, is really just getting some guidance from the community, the city council, on what that preferred plan is. Not that it is going to look exactly like that, but then we can pursue that, bring it back to the community for answering those questions that you guys have. So, anything else? All right, we're going to hang around, so we're happy to answer questions. Yes.
No, I was, it's on the record if you don't like everybody else can hear. I was very excited when you guys first came on board because I like having a group in the vicinity that you are of our city. And I was very encouraged. I am not a developer. I retired from Arapahoe County Department of Human Services, so definitely not a developer. But I was stunned to hear when you first started presenting your plans, they looked decent. They were logical. I anticipated something. It just seems very uncomfortable that all of a sudden, I expected to hear some boom, 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 and what do you guys think? Instead of, we have absolutely no idea what we're doing, and that's what I am hearing, and that is disconcerting. It's been 3 years, and I just, hearing all of this, not yet knowing anything yet, I'm not sure how we're supposed to deal with that. I don't know how to I don't know how to grasp that. So that's all. And when you said this might not even begin or be done for 10 years or something, that really startled me. I anticipated we'd be started by now and maybe within the next year or two be done. So like I said, I was all for you guys, and I'm not saying you all speak nicely, articulate, you really know your stuff, but I am far more confused now than when you guys first sold yourselves to us. So I'm not giving up, I'm just startled. Can you tell me one more time when you anticipate getting started? And because when I heard that, it just would, I thought, no, I must be misunderstanding.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Happy to answer that. So really, the first phase of the agreement that went into effect in February had a requirement.
2024, right?
February of this year.
Of this year.
26. We were required to produce 3 conceptual plans after
Okay.
that. That was part of the agreement, which is what this is. So 3 conceptual plans. And the reason being is that everything that had been done previously was done by another group. So the
I
plans that
understand
have
that. I've
been
been
out
here
there,
since, I've been here since 1990.
Yeah.
So,
So you've seen it all. I mean, there's
Yes.
been a lot of drawings and conceptual renderings. We weren't a part of that, and the idea, I think, by council when we've entered into that first phase was that, look, we need to do this again. We need to engage the community and hear, because as you can hear, I mean, there's disagreement on what should go here and how dense it should be and everything else. And so I think they wanted a real community engagement process to decide what are the types of things we want to see here, which is the first step, and that's what we're doing tonight. But the timeline, going to answer that, I mean, all things being equal, we'd love to have shovels in the ground in 2028. There's a year of
2028.
planning that has to happen to even do that on the first phase, which would deliver the first phase, sometime in 2030. There are uncontrollables in that, even in that timeline, whether it be the market, whether it's going to support
certainly, we all
multifamily
live
or
with
whatever
that, yes.
project
You're
is.
the
So-
developer, so you spend the most money.
Yeah, so some of that's controllable, some of it's not, and so that's the timeline. That's the fastest timeline we envision, the fastest timeline that we could hit at this point. But I mean, we want to go as fast as we can. It's just there were steps that were outlined for us ahead of time.
So you
to
said
really get
2030?
would be delivery of the first product, and again, that's kind of the fastest timeline that we see.
Gotcha.
Yep.
No, I had no
Yep.
clue about that perspective, but I believe you. It's just disappointing.
It's been slow. I understand.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Cindy. I'm concerned that we're building apartments in the old Hobby Lobby location. I'll call it that whole city block because that's a big piece of land there. It seems to me if that's going to be another big apartment building that we probably don't need multifamily in this pocket of development that we're describing right now, this compilation of what you already own and what the city owns. I question whether we need more multifamily. I'll put that on the table. I don't know if you need that for the economic impact of the rentals income from that, if that makes the numbers work better for you to have multifamily, but I question whether that's really a feasible option, again, given with the density that's going to be at the Hobby Lobby site. The other thing, Harbor Freight, is already on Hamden, so it doesn't make sense to move them someplace else on Hamden, in my opinion. If they're a thriving business and they're happy, except the fact that they're bringing in money, it's probably one of the best leases you've got down here right now. Maybe it's not the most beautiful building, but it's bringing in tax dollars and rental income to you guys. I would hope that we could bring in other businesses that would do the same for the community, for you, for the city. I think we have to look back at why the businesses that have tried to establish themselves here over the years have failed. And I think that's probably the bigger concern I have for anybody that's investing down here. I don't say that to discourage you. I want to encourage you. But again, whatever caused all these businesses to fail, we need to make sure that doesn't happen again. Thank you.
And I think to answer that, there have been several issues, but one is the ground floor retail that's designed so far back from Hamden. That's a struggle just in and of itself. Could you put something in there potentially? We're not sure what that looks like, and it'd certainly be, our concern would be the type of retailers or the type of groups that would be in there is not what we've heard from many community members, so that's just something to consider. Harbor Freight certainly, is successful on Hamden, and again, we would love to see them just relocate within Englewood would be the primary objective there. It's more a question of densification and whether an area right at a light rail station should be more dense and have better land utilization at those points, which it's a question we're getting feedback on.
Well, and I would consider the Hobby Lobby site to be within walking distance to the light rail too. That is already, again, a big multifamily property that's coming on board whenever that gets done. So I question whether we need more in this development.
And the only other thing I'll say is that, think about this more in the context of, these products would deliver over time. So it's not like 300 new units comes online tomorrow, as well as the rest of, the build out. I mean, this is going to happen in phases over, maybe a decade, or who knows. But the market's going to influence that, and the market is not going to build something where they haven't run the economics to support the business case for it.
And I'll ask one more question.
Yep.
Have you given any consideration to owner-occupant residential? Is that a feasible plan? Either townhomes, condos?
I mean, we'd love to see some component of that. The
Okay.
challenge is just the legal landscape in Colorado makes it extremely difficult to
Sure.
build condos.
Sure.
But we're not opposed to it.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things that I've noticed the city has always had is the options to buy. We have competition north, south, east, and west of us of retailers, of actions. So we aren't an island unto ourselves. So we fill our city, but the option to just go 15 minutes or 10 minutes just outside our city, even just in Sheridan and all the shopping that's there, or downtown, or the tech center, or whatever. So how do you take that into effect? Because we're definitely putting a lot of population here, which I wish we would stop. But the population, and we're already denser than any of our neighboring cities, yet clearly the people who are here are not spending their money here. So that's a problem, and I'm not sure that's all. I'm not sure I've ever seen anybody take that into consideration. There's a reason most of our places don't succeed. The people have far too many options right around our city.
It's a fair point, and I think that's been, one of our conversations is, what can succeed, what is going to make Inglewood in this location, and that's where things like the concert venue or the music education building could draw traffic in and give, not just Inglewood residents a reason to go down there, but really regional residents a reason to come here. So what retailers could complement that is part of what we're, having that conversation.
But, and that also goes to proper design. The facility, Inglewood City Center today is literally backwards. You don't put junior box anchors right on the road and then bury the small shop space behind. That's never worked. It never will work. Part of the plan that we showed is first floor retail on Hamden. That will be successful retail. We had 50,000 square feet that we would build, which is a replacement basically of what's there today, but it's more impactful, it's more effective. We want spots for you to eat, drink, dine, shop, do all that, but it's got to be well thought out in the right spot. Today it is not. Correct, yes. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Carl, and I do like some of the portions of your plan. The ladies were right. We need to bring in people into this area. We want to draw them in. I think your hotel, with the things that are happening down at the new Bronco facility, the FC facility that they're building down there, having a hotel here in Inglewood would be a draw attention, because it's right off of Hampton, easy to get to, right off the light rail, it would be easy to get to. I think that something like what they have down at Coors Field, where you have a draw to bring people in, that's kind of what I have in mind. Having this building for the city, I don't think works. I don't think this parking structure should go. Would you consider, like you were talking about, have a multifamily there? Would that be more of an area where the city could move into with a new building or something, and then behind that have your multifamily, and then over here you have something that would also, where the Home Depot was, where you would have something to draw people into, multicultural event center. It's just thinking outside the box where you could bring people in, where when you bring people in, they come in to eat, they come in to shop, they come in to do things. That's what you need, something to draw the people in.
In our concert venue ideas, part of our main theme was right across from Coors Field, right? You have picture, concert venue, but then is that a movie theater, theater in the park or movies in the park at night, 3 days a week. That's exactly what we're after, is you got to have that draw. Again, we don't own the site, and we're not professing to. We're giving ideas and thoughts, and that's why if the frustration is we're not far enough along, it's because you as a community and city council need to come together and figure out what the direction is. We're trying to give multiple options. This building stays, this building goes, but I don't take this the wrong way from an almost outsider looking in. We've been in this for 2 years. We've heard the complaints and the gripes that you're just in this constant churn, and you have been for 6-8 years. Now's the time to get off the wagon wheel and let's move forward. But you guys have to make the decision on this site. Terry is a great advocate. He's a great resource, and he's trying to help it. But you've been in this cycle for a decade plus, and now it's time to move on, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's why we don't have the answers, because we need direction to build the economics, to build the cost side. And we haven't even tried yet as far as reaching out to, who knows who could come out. We haven't marketed the site because we don't have anything to market yet without clear direction. Once we get on our horse, this is arguably the most underutilized site in the entire Denver metro area. The site should not be what it is, and sadly, it is a donut hole today. Everything's grown up around it. You have River Point because this was a zombie property. You have everything that's happened in Littleton. You have everything that happened at Hamden and University. That is a consequence of where the market's gone. But the good thing is that there is, economic revitalization. You see projects like this happening. It's tough and it's hard, and the economics are tough. But the site is way too good to be what it is today. The community's got to get on board. They've got to give council feedback. You got to get feedback to us, and then we can all move it forward. But you're just stuck on the hamster wheel right now, and we're here to get you off.
So on the 28th, the city is having a meeting on this. I'm going to talk about that when we get there, but what's keeping City of Inglewood in this location? Can't they have property, or there's property across the street over there where the city could move, within the city? There's other properties that
We have no money.
no money?
We are $9 million underfunded right now.
Okay,
For 26, we have no money.
okay. Thank you, Sue.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate your passion.